Hello and welcome to an easy idea to fill up your sketchbook. Now, we've all been there, right? We've all been staring at a blank page with no idea what to do. It just feels so daunting. Am I right? Yes, you know I am. Sometimes it's just good to just do something so simple and easy that you don't even need to think about it to get you warmed up before you can do something that you really want to do. And that's why I'm here today. It's to show you an easy idea that I think anyone could really do. So I am using these shuttle art markers. These are the automatic ink control, and I cannot say enough good things about these. I love them so much. I've been using them so often, and they are great for this. But also, I will be the first to say that you do not need these markers. You can use something else, anything really, like a colored pencil or a marker or anything else really. You don't need these markers just for this exercise. Just use what you have right now and get started. But just in case anyone does want to check out these markers, I will have them linked in the description so you can check them out. And also the pen I'm going to use in the future, I will have that linked as well. So one thing that I think is important about this specific spread is to pick a cohesive color palette. And what I mean by that is don't be going and picking like a bunch of random colors that won't look good together. I would say you definitely should be mindful about the colors you're picking for this. So I picked a couple shades of pink and a blue, and I think that went together really well. I would just say before you start, pick your colors. And if you have no idea which colors to pick, you know, there's helpful resources out there online that you can go and you can type something like color palettes into Google and that will pop right up. Just to give you a few ideas if you are super struggling to pick out a color palette. And you know what? If you want to make this spread and use the exact same color palette as me, that's what I'm here for. I do not care if you copy me exactly for this. It's a good pastel cute color palette. One great thing about this is that it does not matter if it's messy. It doesn't matter. Just try to draw some blobs all over the page. But you know, one thing that is important to think about when you're making these blobs is to try to make the base a little bit bigger because it is going to be pumpkins, and because the way pumpkins are, they do not grow with a small base. They grow with a bigger base and kind of taper to the top or are roughly the same size as the bottom, but they are never smaller than the top. So just draw some circle-ish blobs. It doesn't matter if they're lumpy. It doesn't matter if this is tricky. You know what? I love having a little bit of white showing through on this specifically because it adds character, it adds texture. I love texture in my art. If that's not for you, then go ahead and just take your time and make sure that there's no white in there because this exercise is for you and your liking. After I got all the blobs down, I took those same colors and just drew some small vertical lines to kind of pull it all together so it didn't just look like random color blobs everywhere. And I love the way this turned out. Don't be too concerned about how these lines are looking. Just kind of do it randomly, but I would say probably only do it up and down because that's kind of the way the pumpkin grows, and I think that makes it look a little bit more natural instead of just being like a polka dotted pumpkin, if that makes sense at all. And also at the same time, you don't even need to do this step if that is not to your liking. I personally like it because it kind of pulls it all together and makes the pumpkins look all cute together, but that again is up to you. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. It is your drawing after all. But adding texture this way is something that I do a lot in my art, and I really love doing that. After I got all of that finished, I let it dry a little bit so it didn't smear it around or anything. And then I got out one of my favorite black pens of all time, which is the Tombow. I don't know how to say it, but I'll have it linked. This is such an amazing pen. This might sound a little bit ridiculous, but I love this pen so much that I bought a 20 pack of them and I have been going through them and I love them. They are so good. I see a lot of other artists using these as well, so I know that other artists like them too. Something that I really like about them is that there are two different kinds. One has a hard tip and one has a softer tip, so you can get more line variations. But personally for me, I really love the hard tip one more because it just is better control. I'm a very heavy-handed artist, and having that much variability in a little felt brush tip is just not that good. It causes me to mess up sometimes, and I'm just not about that. Why would I want that? But some people have better control of the pen than I do and have really good success with using that one. So if that is your thing, then you might like the soft tip one better, but personally I like the hard tip better. But again, you don't really need to go out and purchase this to make this spread. You can just try to find what you have. If there's a barrier between you and making art and you don't make art because you don't have the supplies, well then that is just not good. You want to try to make do with what you have, and if what you have is a Crayola marker and a Sharpie, then just get some good paper and try to make the best of it, and that's all you can do. Don't hold yourself back from creating art because you don't have the exact supplies, because you don't need the exact supplies. Just try your best with what you have. This spread specifically is not one that needs expensive art supplies. You don't need to have the best thing to make this because it is just little blobs with a black marker on top. essentially. Like, you could even go get like children's watercolor and make a cool spread with that. It just has to be some blobs on a page. Don't overthink it. And when it comes to drawing on top of these pumpkin blobs with the marker, try to think of the pumpkins as being in sections like this. It's kind of easier if you go in with a thicker line to outline the sections, and then go back in with a little bit of a thinner line to make some texture, like there's a little bit of lines going up, but that's not the section. And one thing that was really helpful for me whenever I was trying to learn how to make better line art and stuff is to make the outside line thicker than anything on the inside. That really pulls it all together for me. That was like a light bulb moment for me to be able to make better line art, was to simply make the outside line darker. And for you, if that means going over it again, that's what I do usually. I just do it regular, and then whenever I am finished, I just go back over it again to make the line thicker. That really helps me a lot. Just try to have fun with it. Don't try to think about it too much, because when you overthink it, that's when you really mess up. And if you feel like you mess up, just embrace it and move on. It's not going to be something that anyone else will probably notice, honestly. And since we are our own worst critic, we nitpick ourselves all the way through, even though someone else would look at this and say, wow, I really like that. And oops, I accidentally messed up on this pumpkin, this blue pumpkin. I made the lines too thick on the inside, but in the grand scheme of things, it didn't even matter because it still looks fine. So do not feel bad if you make a little mistake. It doesn't matter. There's so much texture in this piece that you will not even notice that. If you walk away from it and come back, you probably won't even remember the fact that you feel like you messed up then. After I got the pumpkin line art to where I felt like I liked it, I decided that the page looked a little bit too empty and blank, so I do what I usually do and just add too much. But I like this because the lines kind of resemble the pumpkins, and I think it adds to the piece. I don't think it takes away from the piece like sometimes it can, and it fills up the whole page, which is something that is very satisfying to look at. So if you do want to do this, just keep your lines nice and soft and flowy. Don't overthink it too much, because again, that's when you will mess it up. There's no rhyme or reason to where I'm putting the lines. It's just kind of where I felt like putting it, and since there was still a little bit of space, I decided to go in and draw some little stars, some little lines, more texture. I just love texture in my art. I've said that like 20 times in this video, but that's just testament to how much I love having texture in my art. If you personally don't like these lines and stuff, there's other options you could do. You could do a full background with a complementary color, or you could just leave it plain white. It doesn't really matter, just whatever you want to do. If you want to add some glitter or anything, it just doesn't really matter. It's just one of those kind of pieces where it's fun to play with. There are absolutely no rules allowed here, and if there were, well, that wouldn't be that much fun now, would it? And hey, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you give me a big old like and maybe subscribe to this channel, because I am trying to grow this channel and I would love to have you here, and I will love you forever if you do like and subscribe to this channel. If you do try this, please let me know. I would love to see what you guys come up with. Okay, I guess I am finished with this piece now, so I'm going to leave you with this. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.